WisconsinEye's Campaign 2024 programming is sponsored by Wisconsin Counties Association, Nicolet National Bank, Wisconsin Hospital Association, Operating Engineers Local 139, the Wisconsin Realtors Association, the Wisconsin Laborers District Council, and North Central State's Regional Council of Carpenters. To support programs like this, please consider a tax-deductible donation at wiseye.org/donate or by texting WisEye to 44321.
Representative Jessie Rodriguez of Oak Creek is the Republican incumbent candidate for the 21st Assembly District. The election is November 5th. Representative Rodriguez, welcome to WisconsinEye.
Thank you for having me, Lisa.
Thanks for participating in our candidate interviews. I'll start by asking you, what's your campaign's key message? Why are you running for re-election?
So as I've been talking to people in the district, starting in the summer, one thing that's people are talking to me about is trying to find ways to make the cost of living more affordable. Everyone is telling me that groceries are more expensive, gas is more expensive, housing is more expensive, and they're asking us to find ways to help them during this time where we've had high inflationary periods. So I have been fortunate that I've supported policies in the past that actually address these issues. As you know, Lisa, there was redistricting just recently, and the 21st Assembly District looks different now than it did 2 years ago. But the issues are still the same, and the solutions can be the same. And so in the past, I've supported legislation to reduce the tax the tax burden for middle-class families, for retirees. And these are things that we can use to help people right now when everything's more expensive. And they're asking for us to work together, to find common ground, and come up with solutions to address their needs. And that's something that I have done in the past, I have a track record on, and that's what I'm running on.
So if you're reelected, what's an example of a bill that's a top priority for you to introduce?
So this last session, I introduced a bill that I worked on for over a year with the Department of Public Instruction and also stakeholders in the school choice community. So in the state of Wisconsin, we have 4 school choice programs. Each of them, or many of them, have different requirements, eligibility, reporting periods. And one thing that the department told me was that it's become very cumbersome to be able to navigate through all those programs. So what the bill is trying to do is basically align those items, eligibility requirements, enrollment periods, into one school choice program. And that would make it easier for the schools, but also the department. I was very happy that we were able to work together and find areas that we could all agree, the department and all the school choice advocates, and introduce this bill. Unfortunately, because it was introduced late, we weren't able to get it through to the governor's office. So my hope is to be able to reintroduce it and actually make some meaningful changes to the program.
So you know that the state is projected to have more than a $3 billion budget surplus. What would be your top 2 priorities for use of that surplus funding?
So listening to the concerns of the people that are in the 21st Assembly District, I think this is a good opportunity to be able to use that surplus to address those needs. So in the past, I've supported tax cuts for the middle-class families. I've supported a bill that would make retirement income exempt in the state of Wisconsin. And these 2 things would have a meaningful impact on people in our state and even in my community. I've been meeting a lot of people who tell me they've been living in their homes for decades, but because of the rising costs of everything, it's just become more difficult for them to stay in their homes. This is a really great opportunity to use the surplus to be able to have some meaningful change, make people's lives more affordable for everyone.
What about any spending priorities? Are there some areas of the state government, state budget that you think need more funding and investment?
There's always opportunities. Another area people bring up is roads. That is, everyone appreciates the roads. Everyone hates construction, period, but everyone appreciates really good roads. And so that's another area I think that we can tackle as well.
You mentioned your work on the choice schools, more broadly K-12 education as a priority for many voters. What are some other priorities for you regarding K-12 public education?
Sure. So just recently, I actually had a conversation with one of the superintendents of the school districts that I represent, and I actually asked him the same question. What do you think should be the priority for the legislature? And he came up with two. He said special education and mental health. So in this last budget, the Committee on Joint Finance that I sit on set aside $1 billion for K-12 education. We increased the reimbursement for special education over 30%, and then we increased more funding for mental health. I think we need to continue to do that, especially since the school districts are looking to the state to help cover a lot of the costs for those types of programs. Even though special education is a federal program, unfortunately, the federal government has not kept up with providing more reimbursement rates for school districts. So they are looking to us to try to plug in the hole. And so I would be supportive of continuing to do that.
What about the future of the state's higher education system? 4-year colleges, 2-year colleges, technical colleges. What does that future look like to you, and where should the legislature focus?
So I think for a long time, the focus of our 4-year universities was to try to promote students going to a 4-year university, getting an education that everyone would help them in going into the workforce. But one thing that became clear to all of us is that the cost of higher education became so difficult for a lot of people, and it forced a lot of students to leave school with a lot of college debt. So I think our focus right now is to make higher education affordable and accessible, and those are the things that we need to continue to do. Not only that, making sure that we are trying to advocate and help provide some information to students about high needs professions. So those are the three things that we need to continue to focus. I'm very excited that we've tried to do some of that, and I think there's always room for doing more. I am a supporter of dual credits. My school districts participate in those programs, allowing students to take college credits at the high school. And that is a huge benefit to our students because they get to graduate college sooner with less debt. So we need to continue to support programs like that, and also seeing if there are other programs that are similar to that. Most recently, my niece just graduated with a degree in X-ray tech, and she actually took her courses at a tech college and actually got a degree on X-ray tech from the University of Milwaukee. So what the university has been doing is looking at high needs professions, working with the tech colleges and partnering up to provide these courses in high needs professions and have it be economical for students. And I think that's a win for not only our university, our tech colleges, but also for our students.
Do you support fully funding the universities of Wisconsin's system?
I think, we can look into that, but I think there is something that we need to also take into consideration. We, unfortunately, in the state of Wisconsin have low birth rates, and so not everyone is able to, go to take all the seats at the universities. So I think we need to be cognizant about that, making sure that we are frugal, that we actually address the needs of our students, and then that we're not keeping universities open that barely have any students in them.
A couple of workforce questions for you. What do you see as the state's largest workforce development challenge, and how would you propose to address it?
By far, the worker shortage. That is, you name the industry and everyone's saying the same thing. We don't have enough employees. And like I said, unfortunately, Wisconsin has low birth rates. We see the baby boomer generation retiring, and all of a sudden we have an exodus and open positions, and our state is struggling with being able to fill those positions. So I think we need to consider to find other ways to recruit outstate to take those positions, but at the same time making sure that we retain our talent here as well. So I'm supportive of looking at that. We've done that in the past, and hopefully we can do that in the future. Ultimately, we want to make sure that people stay here and that we're able to bring people here. But one addition to that conversation needs to be that we make sure that we don't make Wisconsin a state where the tax burden is so high that people will not want to relocate to our state.
Investments in public and energy infrastructure grow our state's economy. This also provides an opportunity to invest in our state's workforce, but currently there are no requirements for hiring local workers. Would you support a state resident hiring requirement for state, local, and utility scale infrastructure investments?
Seeing that we have a workforce shortage, I don't know if that policy would actually help reduce costs in our state. We obviously need to look elsewhere outside of our state to fill a lot of these positions. So I wouldn't want to see projects, take longer to be completed because we just don't have enough employees and we have to hire from within our state. Ultimately, if that becomes more expensive, that cost will roll down to the ratepayers, which is not something we want to do. So I think if right now, being that we have such a shortage in labor, I don't think that's the right policy for our state.
Employee classification is an issue in the construction industry. Some employers misclassify workers as independent contractors or pay them in cash off the books. This lowers costs by avoiding payroll taxes and unemployment insurance, and it puts compliant companies at a disadvantage when bidding on projects. Plus, misclassified workers may be denied minimum wage protections or overtime pay. Are you aware of this issue and what should be done about it?
So I haven't had anybody bring this issue to me as an area of concern that we would need to address. I know that there are already laws in place in our state to address these issues. If this is something that is happening and that needs to be addressed, I think I would be supportive of seeing if there's ways that we could enforce the laws that we currently have in place, and even maybe looking at penalties, increasing penalties to address it.
Affordable rental housing is an issue in Wisconsin, and some support government-imposed rent control to maintain affordability, while others argue keeping rent artificially low will decrease rental supply, resulting in increased prices. What is your sense of housing as an issue, and which best addresses rental housing affordability? Is it rent control, building more rentals, or some other solution?
So this last year, during the budget discussions, we actually set aside about $500 million for grants and loans for affordable housing. I'm supportive of that, and I think we need to continue to do that. That helps people in my community, but are also around the state. I'm not certain about rent control. I haven't, the little bit that I know of it certainly seems like a great idea, but it hasn't had the intended desire, which is lowering costs for housing. So I don't know that would be the right policy decision for our state. I think another thing that we could possibly do is looking at ways to be able to remodel or reuse some of our housing stock that are sitting vacant. I think if it's a financially good reason to do that, I think we should try to pursue that as well.
Transitioning to healthcare, medical systems are facing numerous headwinds in the form of inflation, workforce development, and issues around Medicare and Medicaid reimbursement, resulting in fewer services and even the closure of a hospital system in western Wisconsin. What would you do to preserve access to care and prevent future closures?
So in the state of Wisconsin, we currently have a program called the Disproportionate Share Hospital Program. It goes by the acronym of DISH. Through several budget cycles, we've increased the reimbursement rate to that program. The way this program works is that for hospitals that see a higher percentage of patients who are either uninsured or are on Medicaid, we increase the reimbursement for them. That way we are helping to cover a lot of the costs that the hospitals don't get reimbursed because of the type of insurance that patients have. So I've been supportive of increasing the reimbursement for that, and I would be supportive of looking to do another increase if that makes sense.
What about mental health care? A growing concern for many Wisconsinites in state and county budgets. What are you hearing on that issue, and what do you propose as solutions?
So, I mean, it is a new and an evolving policy issue that we've been trying to address. I think that one of the challenges that we hear from providers is that, unfortunately, in the state of Wisconsin, we don't have a lot of psychiatrists and psychologists in our state. And even though there is a desire and we can put aside money to try to meet the needs of patients, if we don't have the personnel here, that's a challenge. So one of the things that we've done is try to allow for telemedicine for mental health. I think we need to continue to look at ways to be able to do that. That policy is great for people because, one, it helps them see a provider, but also see them sooner, so that way they're not, their mental health does not continue to deteriorate. So I'd be supportive of looking for other ways to be able to do that.
How should Wisconsin move forward on the issue of abortion?
Well, I'm glad you asked on the issue of abortion. My opponent, his supporters, and also the ACLU are putting out information on misinformation and sometimes flat out lie on my positions on abortion. So I want to set the record straight. They are saying that I don't support IVF treatments. That is completely untrue. I do support that. I want women to have the ability to seek that as an option if they're struggling to become pregnant. My husband and I struggled with pregnancy. I had infertility problems before my son was born and even after my son was born, and we did seek, counsel and advice from a specialist on that. And I want other women to be able to do that. The other thing that my opponent is saying is that I don't support exceptions for abortion. That's also not true. I support exceptions for rape, incest, and the life of the mother. That I don't support contraceptives, and that is also not true. I've been a co-sponsor of a bill that would actually provide more access to women to contraceptives by allowing pharmacists to prescribe contraceptives to women. Ultimately, I think what we all want and we should be advocating for is for women to have more access to contraceptives so they don't find themselves in a situation where they have an unwanted pregnancy. That's what we should be working on and advocating for, and I totally am supportive of that. And then with reproductive health care, that's another area that I've been hit on, and I'm completely inaccurate on that. I mean, I supported and was a co-sponsor of a bill that would allow women who are on Medicaid to continue to receive health care 12 months after they give birth to their child. Many times women have unplanned or certain medical situations that occur after the birth of their child. We need to continue to support them and help them in their time. So that's where I stand. When it comes to abortion, I actually supported a bill that would give the decision on the issue of abortion in the state of Wisconsin to the voters. So I supported a bill that would provide for a referendum so the voters could decide on that issue. What I have found, and this has been interesting because there's so much of a narrative on abortion. What I have found when I've talked to people who've mentioned the issue on abortion is that some people believe that abortion is illegal in the state of Wisconsin. So I've had to let them know that abortion is legal in the state of Wisconsin up to 5 months. And I have supported, legislation that would, get us in a position where there would be some common ground. I'm a pro-life individual. I want, women, if they have an unplanned pregnancy, to choose life. But I know that not everyone is in that camp. And so trying to find something that most people would support is why I supported the bill that would move the needle and make abortion legal in the state of Wisconsin up to 3.5 months.
3.5 months is where you're at. You mentioned roads as a priority for you. What are the pressing transportation needs in your district, and how important are that they are addressed, and for the state to keep on schedule with reconstruction of aging interstates and significant corridors of commerce?
So roads are so important in my region. In the 21st Assembly District, there's a major freeway there. We're close to the mega, projects like the Hale, the Zoo, the Mitchell, the East-West 94 corridor, the North-South corridor. So this is all important to people in my region, and that's why I've been supportive of policy changes to make sure that our transportation fund is fully funded. When I first ran for office, the transportation fund was upside down. And I've been supportive of measures to be able to take some of the money from the general purpose revenue fund and do transfers to our transportation fund to make sure that we have enough funding to be able to tackle these roads, the major freeways, but also local roads as well. That's also important. Right now, one big discussion in my region is the I-794. And there's been talks about replacing the I-794. There are some people who are in the camp of completely eliminating I-794, and then there are other people who do not want that to happen. I'm in the camp of keeping I-794. Let's replace it and modernize it. And I know that a lot of people in the southern part of Milwaukee really do access that freeway. They want to see it there. I actually had a town hall with the Department of Transportation, and there were a lot of people that came and basically were saying, we want to make sure that I-74 stays there. It's the reason why people move to my region, because they have the ability to travel to Milwaukee in the city by I-794 or I-94. So this is something that's important for our community.
PFAS and other water contaminants are a concern for a growing number of Wisconsinites. Do you see this as an important issue, and how would you propose addressing it?
Yeah, definitely. It is an important issue. Everyone wants clean water. I've worked on legislation, not last session, but the session before, that would provide more funding from the state to the Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewage District because they wanted to clean the Milwaukee River. And so they had federal funding, but they needed some state funding for that. And I worked on that and was lucky that my colleagues and the governor supported that initiative. This last session and during the budget cycle, we set aside $125 million for PFAS contamination. It was more than what the governor had requested. Unfortunately, the governor did veto that proposal, and the reason being was that he disagreed with one provision in the proposal, which would not hold some landowners accountable for contamination on their proproperties. I truly believe that if an entity created the problem, they should be held liable for that and should should clean up their mess. But we also know that there are some people that have their landlords that their property is polluted and they did not create that pollution. So I don't think we should penalize them for that. Instead, we should be helping them try to clean up their lands.
We're down to our final two questions. How would you describe the leading differences between you and your opponent?
I think the biggest differences is probably tone and approach to solving problems. My opponent has on social media supported and made comments about not wanting to work or not liking the idea of people working across the aisle. We are in divided government. We have a Democrat governor, and because of redistricting, the legislature is going to look different, come this fall. But people want us to solve problems. They want us to work together, find common ground, and find solutions to the issues that's concerning them. And right now is the cost of living. And I have shown that I've had a track record of being able to work across the aisle, get things passed even in divided government. And that's the message that I am in running on and talking about with people in my community.
Final question. Let's say you're reelected, you get a magic wand you can use in the state capitol to resolve one issue in a way that brings all people, all parties together. What's the issue?
Reckless driving. It is one of the other issues that I hear a lot in the community. Milwaukee County, unfortunately, has had an increase of reckless driving compared to other counties around the state. We were able to pass some legislation this last session to try to address reckless driving, but I think we could do more. That is something that, regardless of party affiliation, people want to make sure that we try to address it because people are concerned about their children playing outside. I remember talking to a gentleman who said, you know what, when I'm on a red light and it turns green, I don't go right away. I look both ways before I go because I'm not sure if there's a car that's coming that's going to plow into me. And just recently, a lady from Oak Creek, came to was driving outside of Oak Creek, and she was killed because of a reckless driver. So we need to address it. It's something that everyone, regardless of political affiliation, want to see addressed.
Well, thank you, Representative Jessie Rodriguez of Oak Creek, the Republican incumbent candidate for the 21st Assembly District. The election is November 5th. Representative Rodriguez, thank you for talking with WisconsinEye.
Thank you for having me, Lisa.
This programming is brought to you by our generous sponsors. Thank you for watching.